Okay, guys, come with me. Well, I guess not come with me because we're already here. I am studying for my test on Wednesday in Intro to World Politics. I just wrote down all my notes and everything. So study with me. This is our second major test. The topics we're covering is Islam, oil, the Middle East, and authoritarianism. I have my little extra credit here because I could answer her 4 questions. But okay, let's study. Maybe you guys will learn something. We have a quiz, I think, next week over Iran. Okay, first we're gonna start with Islam. So Islam was started with the Prophet Muhammad, who was born in Mecca in 570 AD, which is in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the birthplace of Islam. Mecca was a really big trade center for agriculture and pilgrimage, and just it was a big city. Before Islam came to the desert, everyone kind of worshipped idols or stones, and it wasn't monotheistic, everyone was polytheistic. When Muhammad was 25, he married Khadijah, who was 15 years older than him, and I don't remember the year, but when Muhammad was, I think, 40, he was up in the mountains outside of Mecca, and he says that the angel Gabriel spoke to him and told him to read. He told him to read 3 times, and Muhammad was illiterate. He couldn't read, and he was like, dude, I can't read. And then the final time, Gabriel said, read the word of your God, or something along those lines. And so Muhammad was like, wow, this is the real deal. And Khadijah, his wife, is actually the first convert to Islam. Yeah, Muhammad couldn't read or write, and he continually went back to the mountain, and Gabriel told him the word of God, and Muhammad memorized all of it. He didn't write it down. He's not the one who wrote the Quran. He memorized it. Yeah. Ali was Muhammad's cousin. He was the first male convert. He was the fourth caliph, so the 4th kind of leader of Islam after Muhammad died, the leader of the Muslims. And he actually has his own group of followers called the Shia. That's the minority group in Islam. The majority is the Sunni Muslims, and there's the Shia. In 622, Muhammad and all of his followers were forced to leave Mecca, and so they made their journey up north to Medina, which literally just means the city. And Muhammad built the first Islamic state there in Medina. And Muhammad was their religious leader, their military leader, and their political leader. He did it all. And every time he would conquer a new town, they would become Islam converts. They would become Muslim. So like after Khadijah died, he married people from different like tribes, and when he married into the tribe, they became Muslim. In 632, Muhammad died, a natural death. So the prophet died. And then the Muslims were split between the Sunni, who were the majority, and they were the traditional like followers of Muhammad. And then, sorry, you guys are on my laptop for light. I'm in one of the study rooms. And then the Shia were the followers of Ali, who they were less traditional. Yeah, under the, I think, 3rd caliph after Muhammad, the Quran was collected because Muhammad like told everyone the word of God, like that the angel Gabriel had told him, but had never written it down because he couldn't write. So the Caliph Uthman, I think is how you say it, he kind of collected all these things that Muhammad had said and put them into the Quran. The Quran is written in Arabic, and Quran means the reading, or to read, which is what Gabriel told Muhammad to do. And the Quran is known as the Word of God. Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary, she's the only woman mentioned in the Quran. She is seen as the holiest woman, or like the most holy. And then there's 3 main cities in Islam: Mecca, the birthplace; Medina, the city; and Jerusalem. I actually don't remember why Jerusalem's important. I'm not religious. I don't know all the things. Yeah, so the majority of Muslims are Sunni. The minority is Shia, and Iran actually is interesting because it is a majority of Shia. So it's flip-flopped. Yeah. Okay, there's 5 pillars of Islam. The first, you have to publicly bear witness to the basic affirmation of faith. So you have to go in a public place and you have to say this: there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. You have to pray 5 times a day. You have to fast during the month of Ramadan. You have to give like something in support of the poor or less fortunate. And number 5, you have to make pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in your lifetime if you are able. I feel like there's more, but I don't remember. But yeah, so Saudi Arabia is the birthplace of Islam. And I'm pretty sure Islam is the 2nd largest religion. Most of the Middle East is Muslim. Okay, next topic: oil. OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, was founded in 1960 with 5 founding members: Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and then Venezuela. Venezuela being the only country that's not in the Middle East. There's now 13 member states, and it controls close to 40% of the world's oil production. And then OPEC Plus was founded in 2016, and it has more countries. I'm pretty sure it's led by Russia, is what my teachers told me. And they regulate oil supply and they set prices. So OPEC they're the big people that run all the oil in the world. This is like the oil PowerPoint that we have, so not all of it's about oil, but Saudi Arabia is the number 1 exporter and producer of oil, and they're they're ranked 2nd in reserves. Venezuela actually has the most oil reserves. They just don't produce as much as Saudi Arabia. I think 3rd, Iran is up there on the list. Canada's up there too. Anyways, in 2024, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was invited to join BRICS, which is, how do I explain what BRICS is? BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And that's what it was. They wanted to kind of change the world power from a US-based like world power to having more developed country, like developing and developed countries in power, so it wasn't just one country. That's what it was. It was founded in 2011, I want to say. Yeah. I have to know a lot about Saudi Arabia for this test. I have to know about Trump and Saudi Arabia. Trump, when he was sworn into office in 2016, I guess it was January of 2017, his first foreign visit was to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Saudis actually really, really like Trump, and they did not like Obama, and they don't like Biden either, but they like Trump. Saudi Arabia has an authoritarian rule. It's a monarchy with King Salman being the king right now. He either became king in 2011 or 2015. I don't remember which. But yeah, Saudi Arabia is really important because of the pilgrimage there to Mecca and Medina, the Islamic cities, because of oil, because it's the biggest producer and exporter, and because it's the birthplace of Islam. The crown prince of Saudi Arabia is the king's son. It used to be, okay, so the crown prince is wait, I have his name written somewhere, because I can't ever actually remember his name. They call him MBS, but I don't remember what his name is. Did I not write down his name? No, Mohammed bin Salman, that's what it is. He's the king's son, and he's the crown prince, so he's the next one in line for the crown. And before he became the crown prince, it was actually his uncle or cousin, one of the two. It wasn't him. And then his father was like, yeah, he's successful, he's gonna be the new crown prince. He's really, really popular because he's made a lot of reforms while he's been the crown prince. So young people and women they really like him. He granted women more rights. Like they can now drive in Saudi Arabia, and they don't have to wear the head coverings anymore. Yeah, and he demands absolute obedience from, like, no corruption. He jailed a lot of the people in power and like family members because they were corrupt. And I say jailed, he sent them to the Ritz-Carlton, which is this really, really nice like hotel, but that's their jail. Yeah, he's really important. People really like him. I thought I had him written down somewhere else. I guess not. Okay, moving on. We have the Strait of Hormuz, I think that's how you say it, which is in between Iran and Oman in the Middle East, coming out of the Persian Gulf. That's really important. It's controlled by Iran because 40% of all the oil like shipped worldwide comes out of the Hormuz Strait. Like everything coming out of the Persian Gulf has to go through the strait. So if anything ever happens, like that's gonna be crazy for oil. But yeah, it's a very important oil checkpoint. Okay, now we're moving on to the Middle East. I have to know these countries on a map. I'm gonna get a blank map and I have to point out all these countries. Iraq, Turkey, Yemen, Egypt, Iran, Israel, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bahrain. Fun fact about Bahrain, it is the only island state or country in the Middle East. It's in the Persian Gulf. It's right next to Qatar and the United Emirates. And we have a really, really large military base on Bahrain. Okay, general information about the Middle East. Population is approximately 411 million. Muslim or Islam is the #1 religion, with the majority being Sunni. Christianity comes in second. Egypt has the largest population, and Saudi Arabia is largest by land size. There's 3 non-Arab states, and that's Iran, Turkey, and Israel. And the most common language is Arabic, with English coming in a second. There's a lot of stereotypes in the Middle East seen by the West, so us being the West, them being the East. Typically in the West, a lot of people view the Middle East as inferior or as alien. They're typically, everyone is seen as a terrorist and irrational and barbaric. And like a lot of people, when they picture the Middle East, they picture desert, which is true. But it's a lot more than just desert. It's big. Yeah, so about 5% of the Middle East identifies as Christian. And Egypt actually has the largest Christian community in the Middle East. Lebanon is the only country in the Middle East that has a Christian president. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, is the tallest building in the world. I actually think that's not true, but we have to know that for some reason. So yeah, there's a lot. I have to map all these things, and I have so much knowledge of Iran in my head because we've been learning about Iran, because we have a quiz over Iran, that like that's what's popping in my head, but I don't need that for this test. Like, did you know we were allies with Iran before 1979 when they had a revolution and became the Islamic State of Iran, and then we were not friends anymore, and we haven't been friends for a very long time. We're enemies. We beef. Yeah. Oh, and Iran is all Shia. There are a majority of Shia Muslims instead of Sunni. Okay, moving on to our next. We had PowerPoints to study. Our last PowerPoint is authoritarian systems. Authoritarian systems are led by individuals or small groups. They're very exclusive. They use various control methods like secret police, surveillance, and mass repression. They rely on mass fear. Republics are typically seen as democratic, but not all republics are democratic. We are a republic and we're democratic, but there's also the Republic of China, which is not democratic. It's communist. Okay, there's 4 types of authoritarian rule. Sorry, there's like a window right in front of me, and I'm scared somebody's gonna walk by and like see me talking to myself, or maybe they can hear me. I don't know. Okay, there's 4 types of rule. There's personal/monarchy. Not all monarchies are authoritarian. The UK is a monarchy, and they are not authoritarian. But monarchies have kings and queens, or emperors and empresses, who hold absolute power. That is usually inherited, like family. They can be democratic, but they also cannot be. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, and they are not democratic, like the UK. There's military dictatorships, which is just what it sounds like. The government is ruled by the military. That usually comes to power through, this is a French word, and I don't know if I can say it right, coup d'état. So like revolutions, like overthrowing the government. So that's where the military leads. There's theocracies, which is what Iran is, and that's government based on religion. So religious leaders run the government, and they put a lot of that, whatever religion they are, into how they rule. So Iran follows all of the rules of Islam, but the Shia ones, because they're Shia and they're different. Okay, there's one party rule, which is what it sounds like. One party rules the government. Usually it involves a really strong ideology like communism or fascism. The USSR was a one-party rule. China is a one-party rule. And there's 2 main kind of like types. You have fascism, which was, or I have to know this, I don't exactly know why, it doesn't have anything to do with the Middle East, but Mussolini in Italy, that was fascism, which typically is loyalty to a strong leader. And then Hitler, of course, was Nazism, which at its core, it was race is the core like thing, like there's a superior race. It has really strong nationalism. Yes, I think that's all that I have. I feel like I should probably know what's what. Oh, the Middle East has the largest amount of dictatorships. Almost every country in the Middle East is a dictatorship, in case you didn't know. That's why there's always a lot of conflict going on, because there's always people that disagree with what's happening in the government. So that's why we have a lot of that. I wonder if I can get my map and I can point out these countries. I think I already labeled my map, I'm not gonna lie. This is the map that I'm gonna get, except this one has the words on it. And that was also of North Africa as well. Yeah, I did label it. Okay. So we have, this is weird backwards. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey. I can't read backwards, so Iraq. Israel is here. Lebanon, I think, is here. Yeah. Okay. I can't see. This is Oman. This is Yemen. UAE. Bahrain is right here. Qatar is that little peninsula. Yeah. This is the Red Sea. This is the Persian Gulf. What am I missing? Iraq. Oh, Syria is up here between Iraq and Turkey. Yeah. Great. Is there anything else that I'm supposed to know? I don't know. I talked about how Khadijah was the first convert. Talked about the Quran. Islam means submission. So giving your submission to God. You have to submit yourself. Talked about the 5 pillars. Talked about the language. Talked about idols. Yeah, I think I talked about everything. I think so. Okay. Thanks, guys, for coming along with me. Oh, my extra credit. I don't know why I didn't use a full freaking piece of paper. Everybody else did. I just chose to tear off this tiny part. Number 1 question was, what does Shah mean? And it means king. Asked when the Iranian Revolution was, and that was 1979. It asked where the Shah from, all of it was stuff on Iran. Asked where the Shah was a former leader of Iran, that he was the leader before the revolution. Asked where the Shah went when he got sick, and he came to America because he had cancer, and then he died while he was in America. The Iranian people did not like that. And then it asked where, what was his name? The guy who started the revolution, he was in Iran and he was exiled. He was exiled to Iraq and they exiled him, and he went to France. And then the Shah left Iran. This guy from France came back and overthrew the government, and he started the revolution and was the one that led all the things that led Iran to become the Islamic State, Islamic Republic of Iran. What is it called? I think it's Republic. Maybe it's not. Oh no. Wait a minute. I have it written down. Khomeini, that was what his name was. I guess I don't get to know. Oh, Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Do we want to go over Iran too, since I'm already here? Let's do it. The capital of Iran is Tehran. Their population as of 2021 was 85 million. The main religion, so 90% of everyone in Iran is Shia Muslim, which, if you remember, Shia is the minority of Muslims. Iran is important because that is where the Mesopotamia Valley is. So the birthplace of civilization happened in Iran, or modern day Iran. They hold 10% of the world's oil reserves, second biggest natural gas reserves, and they're on the northern side of the Persian Gulf. talking about Islam again, blah, blah, blah. Oil was discovered in Iran in 1907 by a British company. The first Shah of Iran came to power in 1921. He renamed, because the area at that point was called Persia, he renamed the area Iran. Some argue that he was influenced by Hitler. He was a dictator. And then in 1941, he did not like that the British controlled a lot of the stuff going on in Iran because they controlled the oil. So in 1941, Britain and the USSR invaded Iran, arrested and exiled the Shah at the time. His name was Reza Pahlavi. They exiled him and then brought in his son, who was off in, I think, Switzerland at school, brought him in and was like, hey, you're gonna be the new king. And Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, the first guy's son, became like a pawn piece for Britain in Iran. After World War II, Iran became a constitutional monarchy. They had a constitution. They still have a constitution. And then in 1951, they elected their first prime minister. His name was Mohammad Mosaddegh, I think is how you say it. So they installed democracy. They have a prime minister. They elected him. This prime minister wanted to nationalize the oil industry in Iran. He wanted to get rid of all the British influence. He wanted to get Britain out of Iran. Britain didn't like this. At the time, this is the height of the Cold War, okay? Britain was talking to the US. They're like, hey, we gotta do something. Like, they're trying to get rid of us. And we were like, not our problem, dude. And then, so then Britain was like, I wonder what we can do to get the US to, step in, because we were one of the world's superpowers. And they were like, I wonder what we could do to get the US to step in. And they were like, So then they told the US that this prime minister was going to join forces with the USSR and become communist, which this was not true at all. This was not going to happen. The British made this up. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we can't have communism spreading. So then we go and the CIA Operation Ajax, if you ever heard of that, that's what it is. We took out Mossadegh. We imprisoned him. He was put on house arrest until he died in 1967. This was happening in 1953. This was under Eisenhower. He's the one that did this. Sent the CIA in, did this. So we always are like, we need more democracy. And then when a country becomes democratic and we just don't agree with what they're doing, we take them out. Okay, that was the last time they were democratic. We kind of ruined that. We were being hypocritical. Okay. Yeah, so this happened. Iranians, that was the start of Iranians not liking the US because we just took out their prime minister. So then the Shah, what was his name? Okay, the Shah from before, the king, the Shah, he is still in power. He becomes a dictator, and he ruled with an iron fist. And this is still Cold War. Okay, this is 1941. Well, no, this is not 1941. I don't know why I have that date in here. This is post 1953. The Shah becomes a dictator. They're still kind of allied with the U.S. at this point. But the Iranian people did not like this dictator, and so people who didn't like him rallied around Khomeini, who was an exiled religious leader that I was talking about earlier. He was exiled to Iraq and then later to France, and he actually became the first supreme leader, which we'll get to that later. Okay, Khomeini, even though he's not in Iran, his ideology was spreading, okay, that Islam should be number one, like we should not have a dictator, blah, 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 all these things. The Shah in, when is this? 1979, before the revolution, but still 1979, he got sick, he had cancer, so he came to the US to get treated for his cancer. While he was gone, Khomeini came back from Paris. He flew on his private jet from Paris. He was kicked out of Iraq after Saddam Hussein became president. So then he was in France, and then he came back from France. He came back to Iran. The revolution began. The Shah never come back because he died in the United States. And then in April of 1979, there was a revolution, and Iranian citizens voted to become an Islamic republic. And if we remember earlier, not all republics are democratic. This one is not. Power was concentrated around the clerks, the religious clerks. Women were forced to adhere to the strict rules in Islam. And this is when Iran and the US completely cut ties. We're no longer buddy-buddy, we're now enemies. Iran actually called the US Big Satan, and they called Israel Small Satan, because they didn't like Israel either. That's why we beef so much, because the US is allied with Israel, and Israel and Iran are, which then means us and Iran are, you know. Okay, so it's still 1979. The people of Iran still being upset at the US. Students, Iranian students, went into the US embassy in Tehran and took, how many? 66 hostages, 66 US hostages, and held them for over 400 days. So over a year. I don't actually remember exactly why they did that. I probably should know that. We talked about it in class, I just don't have it written down. That was under Jimmy Carter, good old Carter. As soon as Reagan was inaugurated, they released the hostages, but ever since then, Iran has been considered an enemy state for the US. All formal relationships have been cut. After the revolution, there was from 1980 to 1988, there was war between Iran and Iraq. Khomeini was still the supreme leader. He was the one in charge of everything. This is kind of when the nuclear stuff comes in, because post-World War II, Iran, when they were still allied with the US, we were helping them build nuclear plants, so they could have nuclear power and all that stuff, and they were on track to building the nuclear bomb. And then we cut ties with them. They signed the, where is it? I know it's here, the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which basically says they can have nuclear power, but it has to be peaceful. A lot of people signed this after World War II and after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So their nuclear power had to be peaceful. They could not build, weapons out of it, whatever. They signed that treaty. When Khomeini was in power in Iran, he stopped all nuclear things, all nuclear production. He shut down all the plants, and argued that it was un-Islamic, so everything was shut down. After this 8-year war with Iraq and Iran, obviously this is after the revolution, so we sided with Iraq and helped them and gave them power. and big weapons. After this war, Khomeini was like, yep, nope, we're getting this nuclear power back up and running because they were devastated by the weapons. And then after that war, Khomeini died. He was out. Okay. Do we need to talk about their constitution? It created a very complex system. It's a theocracy, but there's also elements of modern democracy. So they have the powerful supreme leader, which is the religious leader, and they do have a president that's elected every 4 years, and a parliament elected by the people. So when I said earlier they weren't democratic, they are a little bit democratic. I lied. Okay. The current supreme leader is the one that came after Khomeini. His name is Khamenei, really close to the other name, but with an A. He came into power in 1989. He's very conservative, and he has completely denounced the idea of any talks with the United States. He also is in bad health right now, so he might die soon. Okay. Yeah, okay, we can get into the nuclear stuff now. Yeah, so we helped them build their first plants, and then we were like, no more, and their spiritual leader was like, this isn't right, and then he was like, oh, we need nuclear. And yeah, so they signed the non-proliferation treaty, which a lot of countries signed, which said they could only have peaceful. Israel and India did not sign it, which is why they have non-peaceful nuclear weapons. The West puts a shit ton of sanctions on Iran because we're scared of them building nuclear weapons, because obviously who are their targets going to be? Their two big enemies, us and Israel. And that would be bad. So we put a lot of sanctions on them, which means their economy is really, really bad. So like Iranians are highly educated because they have free education, they have all that stuff. But there's no jobs. Their job market is shit. Their economy is terrible because of the sanctions that we put on them. So they still have their nuclear plants up and running. They actually rely on Germany a lot for some of their parts that come in. And they also get help from Russia and China. Iranians want the sanctions lifted because then they'll have a better economy, they'll have more jobs, they can sell more oil, like they can get more money in from their oil. Okay, P5 is like the really powerful countries. I don't remember who else in P5. But them and the European Union in 2015, I'm gonna read this straight from my notes because I actually don't really know what this means. Achieved a long-term comprehensible nuclear deal with Iran that will prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and ensure that Iran's nuclear program will be exclusively peaceful. So basically they're not gonna let Iran build the bomb. However, in 2018, Trump withdrew us from the nuclear deal that we had made with Iran, that they weren't going to build this bomb or build weapons. And their president at the time has said, since Trump withdrew from the deal, that they're not going to try and renegotiate another deal with the US. Like, we pulled away from it. Sorry, that's it. And Obama had talked when he was in office with the president of Iran, and they had made some sort of deal, and I don't remember what it was. I watched a video on it. Okay. So everyone in the world, not everyone in the world, the US, we actually fought with Iran over the summer, and we bombed their nuclear plants. And there's a lot of people that think that we're going to go back to war with Iran because Iran says that it's not building any weapons. However, those in power in the US don't believe that. Alright, I'm gonna try and put my highlighters up. Look how the people in power in the US they think that Iran is lying and that they are breaking the non-proliferation treaty that they have signed. Oh, I don't have this in my notes. I actually just saw this on the news about a week ago. Russia just signed a $25 million deal with Iran to help them rebuild their nuclear plants and build new plants. That's terrifying. Which, yes, nuclear power is great. Nuclear energy is great. It's renewable, that's great. But because we are on such bad relations with Iran, if they do end up building a bomb, it will go towards us 100%. And that will start probably World War III. And so us trying to go back to war with Iran is terrifying because obviously they're going to retaliate if we bomb all their nuclear plants again, which we bombed like 2 or 3 of them over the summer. Yeah. There's more to this, but I don't have all my notes written for some reason. I just stopped taking notes. Oh, okay. They had a new president elected in 2021. His name was Raisi, I think. He had a very conservative ideology, and he did not have a good human rights record. And in 2024, he died in a plane crash. And a lot of people think that it was premeditated, that it wasn't just a random plane crash, that somebody purposefully, other people in power in Iran crashed this plane so that whoever's in power now, I don't know who the president is right now. How do I say this name? Pezeshkian? He could come into power. I don't remember why people think that though. Hold on. Let's go find my Iran PowerPoint. Do you guys think this is fun? Studying with me? I think it's fun. If I say things out loud, it helps me retain them. Okay. End of the show. Okay. Yes, so in 2018, Trump withdrew from the nuclear deal, and said that it has terrible flaws. And then later, and then he reinstated the severe sanctions against Iran. In 2021, Biden wanted to rejoin the deal, and I can't see this. For that to happen, Iran said that all the sanctions would have to be removed, and so we did not do that. Okay, that's what it was. Okay. The current president said that has called for an end to the war on Gaza. Why is this in here? This doesn't really matter. Said that Iran did not seek war with Israel, but was ready to deliver an appropriate response to strikes this week on Iranian military sites. That was in October of 2024. Yeah, so they don't want to go to war with Iran, but they will if they are provoked. In March of 2025, Trump proposed direct negotiations with Iran over the nuclear programs, setting a 2-month deadline for a response. says that Iran favors indirect talks and distrusts the U.S. because of their past actions. I don't blame them. And then the Supreme Leader has warned of a strong retaliation against any military action from the U.S. So if we take any action against them, they're going to come back and they're going to beat our ass. I mean, maybe not. I don't know what kind of powers they have. And that's the end of this slideshow. But yeah, now you guys know the history of Iran and why we have such bad relationship with them. I actually really like this class. My teacher is an Israeli Palestinian, which is weird. It's a weird mix, but she's also Arabic. And she was born in Israel. So she has kind of a thicker accent, but today in class, she literally started playing, like popular Arabic music, and she was jamming along. I don't even remember why we were listening to it, but it was funny. Yeah. Thanks for studying with me. I've been in here for a couple hours. But yeah, that's why we've gone to war with Iran over the summer, because we're fearful of their nuclear program. And now that Russia has just signed that deal with them. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up because now I want to know more about it. Oh, interesting. That's an interesting headline. It says Iran, Russia, and China send a letter to the UN, so the United Nations, declaring nuclear deal with Tehran terminated. Countries criticized UK, France, and Germany for legally and procedurally flawed attempt to trigger snapback mechanism. I don't know what this means. These are big words. These are really big words. I don't know what this is saying. Okay, I'm gonna find one that makes more sense to me. What is this from? 2005? That's not helpful. Okay, what about this one? Iran and Russia signed $25 billion deal, nuclear plant deal. Says... Oh, okay, this is what the snapback thing is. Okay. Friday's announcement comes as the United Nations Security Council is expected to vote on a China and Russia-backed resolution seeking delay for at least 6 months in the reimposition of international sanctions against Iran under the so-called snapback mechanism over its nuclear program. I actually don't understand what I just read. Okay, but the deal between Iran and Russia was that Russia would help Iran build 4 new nuclear, plants. Ish. And the reason Iran has claimed to need these is because they suffer with, they have terrible electricity, and so they need more power. So yeah, the reason that we bombed Iran over the summer is because Israel actually stated that Iran was on the verge of acquiring nuclear weapons. Western states have long suspected Tehran of using its nuclear energy sites as a cover, as a cover for their weapon building. Iran insists that it has no such intentions, but the West does not believe them. Russia says no rift with Iran is a row over that. I think this has been translated because that doesn't make sense. I think this was in Arabic because it's an Arabic site. Oh, Russia's deputy foreign minister dismissed suggestions of mistrust between Moscow and Tehran as tensions rise among Iranian political factions over the Islamic Republic's partnership with Russia. So maybe people in Iran are not happy that they're partnering with Russia. Is Iran in BRICS? Oh, it is. Okay. This is making more sense as to why they're partnering with Russia. Because Russia's kind of like the big leader of BRICS. How many countries are in BRICS? I don't know. I think there's quite a few. If all the BRICS countries band together, they could totally overthrow the United States. 100%. Iran becomes a member of BRICS with hopes and challenges. What does that mean? Oh, okay. So Iran became a member of BRICS to overcome the impact of U.S. sanctions and overcome isolation, because they've been in isolation for a long time because of the sanctions. This is a lot. They just became a member last year. That's recent. Okay, for those who don't know, let's describe what BRICS is. If you're still watching this, which I bet most people aren't. Okay. BRICS is an intergovernmental organization of 10 countries, originally formed as a group of rapidly growing economies. Its purpose is to promote economic and geopolitical integration among member states and seek reforms in international financial institutions. So it's to help with growing countries' economies. They do not like the United States, in case you're wondering. Can you see the smoke outside? I don't know what that comes from. I think there's water heaters over there. Because there's like 3 big tanks that are like always smoking or steaming. So it makes me think it's water heaters. They also started their own World Bank. It's in Shanghai. I got almost a perfect score on my BRICS test. I was really happy. Not that I retained much of it, but... Oh, it was founded in 2009, not 2011. I'm sorry. Yeah, they want to reduce reliance on the US dollar and the US economy. So a lot of world functions right now rely on the US, and BRICS doesn't like that. They're like, this is not okay. We need to have more than one country in control of world economy. World money. Yeah. So you have the United Nations, NATO, you have the European Union, you have BRICS, you have the UN Security Council, which has 5 permanent members. Oh, did you know in the world there are 9 confirmed countries that have nuclear bombs, 5 of which are the permanent Security Council members, which is the US, France, Britain, Russia, and China. And there's also Israel, Pakistan, India. What's the other one? Wait, don't tell me, guys. There's one more that has nuclear power. North Korea! It's North Korea. Okay, this has gone on for far too long. It is almost 8 o'clock. I should probably go back to my room. I think when I left, Mia was asleep. Just part of the reason that I came into this study room. So maybe she won't be asleep when I go back. Yeah, I really like this class. It's more like a history class than anything. We're just now getting into like recent-ish stuff with Iran, but I like it. Okay, this has gone on for an hour, so if you've watched this whole thing, thanks for studying with me. I hope you learned something. I love college. This is great. I love learning. Okay, anyways, bye guys. I don't know if I'm gonna post this, but I hope you learned something. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.